This video will take you through the essential skills for classroom management. The learning goal is to understand the essential skills of classroom management. There are 2 success criteria. I can name the 10 essential skills, and I can identify which ones I already use and which ones I need to work on. This quote is particularly relevant to the essential skills. We don't get to decide if we have challenging students in our classes, but we can certainly decide how we respond to them. There are 10 essential skills that this video will take you through. Establishing expectations, giving instructions, waiting and scanning, cueing with parallel acknowledgement, body language encouraging, descriptive encouraging, selective attending, redirecting to the learning, giving a choice, and following through. The essential skills of classroom management directly relates to the PBL flower, with positive relationships being the core of both. The essential skills, or ESCM as you may see it written, is very much a proactive approach rather than being a reactive approach. Behaviour management is made up of 2 things. You have to have engaging pedagogy and you have to have essential skills of classroom management. You can design the best lesson that you think is super engaging and you've really worked on thinking about what pedagogy you're going to use, but if you don't use any of the essential skills of classroom management, the lesson is going to go haywire. We can flip that around and you can use all the essential skills in the world, but if you haven't thought about engaging the students through your pedagogy, your lesson is also not going to work. So we really do need to have a balance of these 2 things. The first essential skill is establishing expectations. This is where we clearly articulate and demonstrate the boundaries of pro-social behaviour. You can see that this fits into the PBL flower on the left in behavioural expectations and the explicit teaching of these skills. I like to teach the expectations in the classroom on the very first day and then revise it for each of the lessons throughout the first week. I revise it again at the beginning of the second week, and then at the beginning of each term after the holidays, it's important to go back and establish those expectations again. Students need to be aware of both positive and negative consequences, which you reinforce consistently. The second essential skill is instruction giving, and this is where we give clear direction to students about what they're going to do. Standing in the same spot in the classroom when you give an instruction is a great indication to students when it's time to hook in and listen. Giving instructions on the task as well as the behaviour is of equal importance. When we give an instruction on the task, we need to tell the students what they are doing, how they are doing it, and also why they are doing the task. It is the why that we often leave out, but it's the why that will hook the student into learning. We also need to say the what, the how, and the why of the behaviour. Think about what techniques you can use to make sure that students can understand the direction that you've given. Maybe you could ask a student to repeat the instruction. Always end an instruction with thanks, not with please. For example, don't say, "Can you please take out your books?" Some kids will just answer no. Rather, try saying, "Take out your books, thanks." You still come across as using your manners, but you're giving an instruction rather than asking a question. The third essential skill is waiting and scanning, and this ties in nicely with your behavioural expectations from the PBL flower. Waiting and scanning is when you give an instruction, you wait, and you scan your class for 5 to 10 seconds after you've given that instruction. It gives students time to process the direction that you've given. It also indicates to students that you do actually mean what you say. So if you say, "Close your laptop lid, thanks," and then you keep on going with the lesson, the majority of the students won't put down their laptop lids because they'll know that when you give an instruction, you don't really mean it. So if you tell the students to close their laptop lid and then you stop and you scan, you'll find that more students take up that direction. Essential skill 4 is cueing with parallel acknowledgement, which fits in perfectly with positive reinforcement on the PBL flower. So cueing with parallel acknowledgement is when you acknowledge students' on-task behaviour with the intention of promoting others to follow suit. So you give the instruction, you stop and you scan, and you can see that some students have not followed your instruction. Rather than redirect those students who have not followed your instruction, try praising somebody who has made the right choice. So you might say, "Thank you for standing behind your chair quietly, Chris," instead of "Stand up behind your chair, Harry." It's an alternative to a redirection so that you avoid nagging, and it does create a nice positive tone in the classroom. Skill number 5 is body language encouraging, and this is to intentionally use your proximity, your body gestures, and your facial expressions to encourage students to remain on task. It takes no time to do, and it really helps with promoting that positive tone in your classroom. It promotes on-task behaviour when you use it intentionally. Teachers don't like to stop the flow too often when they're direct teaching, so using eye contact, smiling, nodding, thumbs up, also including peripheral vision and scanning the class regularly when they're working, perhaps in groups or when you're talking to a student individually, can really help to keep students on task. You can also use non-verbal skills to correct student behaviour. For instance, a slight shake of the head when a student is talking while you're doing explicit teaching so that you don't have to stop that flow. Essential skill number 6 is descriptive encouraging. Again, this fits in with positive reinforcement in the PBL flower. Descriptive encouraging is when we encourage students to become more aware of the competence by describing exactly what you see or hear from them so that they repeat it more frequently. It helps to reinforce the rules. Again, it promotes a really positive learning environment for students. It focuses on their strength and helps build self-esteem. It gives students information about their competence. It directs attention to strategies that are useful for problem solving and strengthens your relationships with students. So for example, you could say Steve has started his work. This group is on task. Use it frequently and have genuine intent. This could also go beyond the classroom, like sending home the Eleanor State High School postcards to parents with positive notes about their child. Skill number 7 is selective attending, and this is when you intentionally give very minimal attention to off-task or inappropriate behaviour, but it must be safe. It avoids unintentionally reinforcing off-task or disruptive behaviour. It gives time for you to attend to other students and also gives you some time to think about how you're going to deal with that student. It is a deliberate process used within a discrete time frame. It has a beginning and an end, so we don't selective attend for 20 or 30 minutes of a lesson. We don't use selective attending when it is disrupting the learning of others. We definitely don't use selective attending if there's any type of unsafe or off-task behaviour in the classroom. So perhaps you've tried the proactive strategies on all of the previous slides, and you still have a student who is choosing off-task behaviour or is disrupting other students in the classroom. This is where you give a redirect to the learning. It puts the responsibility of the decision making onto the student, and it reinforces the importance of having on-task behaviour. When it's linked with giving a choice, it reinforces to the student or the group of students that you have expectations and you're going to apply consequences and follow through. A redirection can also be non-verbal, so it might be a pause in talk. It might be using your proximity and moving closer to the student. You might give eye contact, or you might verbally question the student. So, where are you up to? You might even call a student's name. You might give them an oral directional task to sit down or to stop talking. It's important when redirecting to learning that you always keep a calm tone and a clear voice. Essential skill number 9 is giving a choice. So this fits into the PBL flower under consistent and fair consequences. After you've used your proactive strategies and then you've given a redirection, if that hasn't worked, this is where we go to giving a choice. Use this in close proximity with a student Don't use it across the room, as teenagers love to have a stage, get into an argument, and then we see those secondary behaviours creeping in. So giving a choice is where you respectfully confront the student who is disrupting others with the available choices and the logical consequences. Walk up to the student, state the choices, and then walk away and scan intermittently. Don't enter into secondary behaviour or get into an argument. So you may walk up to a student and say your choice is to stop talking, or you'll be moving to a new desk or a buddy class or the wellbeing hub, wherever you are up to with your classroom steps. State the choice, move away, give the student a moment to think about it, and then ensure that you follow through if they decide to make the wrong choices again. You may walk up to the student and say, I can see that you've chosen to move seats. Give the instruction to move seats and walk away. Again, do not enter into secondary behaviour, such as an argument. If the student does not move seats, for example, give them another choice. Your choice is to move seats, otherwise next you're going to go to a buddy class. Following through clearly establishes that you mean what you say. It models assertive behaviour, and it shows the other students that you are going to follow through with the classroom rules as well. When using classroom management, ensure that you avoid sarcasm, put downs, use statements like, why aren't you working quietly? Ensure you don't invade personal space. Don't get into a power struggle with students. And when you're giving a choice, make it sound like a choice and not a threat. Communication and positive relationships really is the key. Ensure that you develop these positive relationships and open the lines of communication with not only the students, but their parents, and do that early on. Talk to other teachers who have this student. This is all part of building positive relationships within our school community. The essential skills for classroom management actually fits into all areas of our signature practices. It fits into building those positive relationships, using the school-wide routines and expectations, using essential skills of classroom management, and of course, making sure that we follow through with those steps in our classroom when students choose to make the wrong choices. So let's have a quick review of the essential skills, remembering that review and reflect is also one of our signature practices. So in essential skill 1, 2, 3, and 4, we're using the language of expectation. We're establishing expectations, giving instructions, waiting and scanning, and cueing with parallel acknowledgement. If the student is on task, we use body language encouraging and descriptive encouraging. If the student is off task, we can use selective attending, redirect to the learning, giving a choice, and following through. Consider what essential skills of classroom management you already use. And now think about which one or two you're going to focus on over the next few weeks, and take note of how that changes the environment within your classroom. Remember that all of our SLIMS team, as well as some of our teachers, are trained in classroom profiling. Classroom profiling is based on the essential skills of classroom management. Over 30 minutes, the profiler collects data on which strategies you use in the classroom. This helps you to reflect on which ones you can incorporate more of. You can be profiled as regularly as you like. It's great to have a profile so that you can see what you're already using and then focus on a couple over the next few weeks and have another profile perhaps in the next month or the next term. If you have any questions about essential skills or need any more resources, don't hesitate to contact any member of SLIM or the Hot Professional Practice.